So, something amazing and completely absurd happened. There is a scientific principle that states if an event occurs very rarely, you are unlikely to see it again. Sounds logical, doesn't it? But it seems the universe decided to comment on this logic. Pay attention to the facts. From September 23rd to 25th of this year, a real explosion occurred in the matrix in just 72 hours. And this is not a simple theory, but confirmed data. Global facts. First, two stars flared up like supernovae, and now two bright points appeared in the sky, visible even without a telescope. Just look up. Usually, if such an event happens once a year, it's considered significant. But here are two flares in 2 days. Next, Venezuela. There were two powerful earthquakes, both with a magnitude of over 6, occurring not just in one country, but almost at the same point, just a few hours apart. The chances of such an event are nearly zero. And finally, the cherry on top. The sun. It expelled a coronal mass, a huge cloud of plasma. And where do you think it headed? Right towards an interstellar comet passing by, one that doesn't even belong to our system. It's like shooting a cannon across the solar system and hitting a bullet traveling from another galaxy. The problem isn't each individual event, but that they happened simultaneously. The probability of such a coincidence is simply absurd. It's a fundamental violation of statistics. A researcher from Cambridge accurately noted, it's not that physics has failed, but that statistics seems to have broken down. Let's simplify. The probability of two new stars appearing in 48 hours is less than 0.002%. The chance of two earthquakes in one place is 1 in 10,000. Now add to this the precise shot of the sun at an interstellar object. The final probability? It defies our models. It's like flipping a coin 10 times in a row and getting heads each time. You will start to suspect that something is wrong with the coin, right? We are now looking at the universe and wondering what is wrong with this coin. We are used to thinking of space as order. Planets, orbits, cycles, but it is not quite so. It is controlled chaos. And when completely different systems, stars, planets, our sun, suddenly start to malfunction synchronously, it makes one ponder, to ask very uncomfortable questions. Is it just a strange coincidence? A statistical anomaly? Or is it a signal? A signal that our models of the universe are merely child's play? Perhaps there are hidden variables, a connection between it all that we just don't see. Scientists have already named this phenomenon the 72-hour stack. Sounds intriguing, but behind this name lies complete bewilderment. We received unique data, the opportunity to compare two supernovae in real time, and the chances of how matter from another star system reacts to the impact of our star. For science, this is a real gold mine. But the fundamental question remains open. We have encountered a striking coincidence, or perhaps the universe has just demonstrated to us that we have no understanding of how it functions. What if this is not just an anomaly, but the first hint that our fundamental perceptions of reality are fundamentally wrong? We need to figure this out. We have the data, and that's the most important thing. In all these scientific fields, this coincidence has created an atmosphere of urgent necessity. In astronomy, observatories in Chile, South Africa, and Australia were forced to completely change their priorities and observation plans overnight. The explosion of a star in the constellation Centaurus, which occurred in 1935, became the starting point. And almost immediately, star 7904 in the constellation Sagittarius compelled telescopes, originally intended for entirely different research, to urgently readjust their focus. The reason for this haste is clear. The new star is not just an exciting spectacle in the night sky. This is a gigantic natural laboratory where uncontrolled nuclear fusion occurs. Cosmic detectors and instruments like telescopes in observatories have almost instantly recorded powerful bursts of gamma and X-ray radiation, indicating particles being accelerated to speeds close to the speed of light. This data is incredibly valuable as it helps us understand the origin of cosmic rays, a stream of particles that bombard the Earth daily. These are the very particles that penetrate our bodies and electronic devices, and we don't even notice their presence. In other words, understanding how a star explodes thousands of light years away from us is not just a simple astronomical curiosity. This is an important step towards understanding how invisible cosmic radiation interacts with our satellites, electrical networks, and even human health. Meanwhile, in Venezuela, the reality turned out to be much harsher and more concrete. Two earthquakes with a magnitude of over 6 occurred in less than 6 hours, testing the social stability of the country. Messages from there painted a picture of chaos. Hospitals were forced to improvise, sorting patients right in parking lots, and doctors performed surgeries by flashlight. Entire communities organized living corridors for transporting the wounded. All this demonstrates how purely scientific coincidences can lead to massive human chaos. Geology, of course, can explain how one tectonic fault relieves pressure and provokes the movement of another. However, for those trapped under the rubble, this sequence of events was not a scientific theory. It became a brutal realization that statistics cannot soften the physical and emotional impact faced by those in the very epicenter of the disaster. And finally, the most mysterious element of this puzzle is the sun. The coronal mass ejection recorded on September 25th was classified as moderate based on its technical characteristics. However, its unusualness lay in the target it was aimed at, the interstellar Comet 3 and Atlas. Unlike familiar comets formed with our solar system, this object contains ice and dust that came from another star and another time. Scientists, including geophysicist Stefan Bern, described this event as a natural experiment that we couldn't have planned even with a multi-year budget. Indeed, the orbital zones around Mars are already on high alert. In early October, Comet 3 and Atlas will fly just 30 million kilometers from the planet, coinciding with a period of high solar activity. This presents a unique opportunity for science to study the reaction of interstellar matter to the most powerful solar storm in the last decade. This opens up entirely new prospects for humanity. If we learn to use such comets as natural sensors, we will be able to predict the impact of solar storms on Earth much more accurately. This, in turn, affects absolutely all aspects of our lives, from the safety of air travel to the stability of the internet, from the operation of GPS satellites to the functioning of global supply chains. At this moment, the topic goes far beyond the confines of scientific laboratories. This is no longer just an interesting statistical coincidence, but a serious reminder that we exist on an extremely vulnerable planet, caught in a complex web of cosmic processes that occur without our consent. What is merely an unlikely mathematical calculation for space becomes a matter of life and death for us. In this context, it is particularly interesting to observe the collective behavior of people. With each new piece of news, amateur astronomers' social media accounts exploded with messages, photos, and improvised analytical posts. In Venezuela, messages in WhatsApp groups became as important as official statements from seismic agencies. On websites tracking solar activity, such as the Space Weather Prediction Center, the number of views increased tenfold in just a few hours. These social movements demonstrate that in the face of unexpected and frightening situations, society instinctively seeks horizontal organization, using real-time information as the main resource for protection. However, one extremely unpleasant detail becomes evident here. Despite scientific advancements in interpreting such phenomena, our global infrastructure remains poorly prepared for them. Only a few countries have clear and tested protocols for dealing with widespread power outages caused by powerful solar storms. In geologically vulnerable regions like Latin America, evacuation plans during repeated seismic shocks often remain unreliable and exist only on paper. The coincidence of several extreme phenomena reveals a bitter truth. We are capable of handling each of these challenges separately, but we are not fully prepared for a situation where they all arise at once. This is a real combined blow. Therefore, observing the development of such events represents not only scientific interest, but also the opportunity to anticipate risks and realize our own vulnerability. It is important to keep track of what is happening, to be aware of upcoming events, and to subscribe to sources that provide detailed and reliable analysis of these phenomena. In critical moments, accurate information can be the decisive factor that separates delayed reactions from timely preparation. This information brings us to a key moment. Until now, we considered the 72-hour stack as an unlikely set of coincidences. However, there is one detail that has remained in the shadows. The latest statistical models applied to this event show that the simultaneous occurrence of new star eruptions, earthquakes, and specific solar activity cannot be explained solely by random distribution. In simpler terms, this may indicate the presence of hidden correlational factors, some physical or cosmic connections between these events that we are not yet aware of. What if what we consider coincidence is actually a reflection of our ignorance? When unusual events begin to accumulate before our eyes, the first reaction is always statistical. We start counting probabilities and building models, trying to reduce the daunting impossibility to a more comfortable language of numbers. But the 72-hour hourglass clearly showed that some coincidences simply cannot be quantified. We are left to consider the deeper philosophical implications of what has happened. How prepared are we, as a civilization, to recognize patterns that we are still unable to understand. All modern science is based on the assumption that with enough time and data, any randomness ultimately finds rational and understandable explanations. However, each element of this stack points to a painful gap in our knowledge. For example, the discovery of new twins revealed our difficulties in predicting stellar explosions, even in systems that have been under constant monitoring for decades. The earthquake in Venezuela reminded us that while we understand the general mechanics of geological fault movements, we are still unable to accurately predict when and where the next strike will occur. The collision of the Sun with Comet 3 and Atlas demonstrated that we have no reliable models describing the interaction of solar plasma with interstellar matter, despite fully relying on them to protect critical technologies on Earth. These gaps in our knowledge are not just technical shortcomings that can be fixed over time, they indicate a deeper and more serious problem. What if part of the reality surrounding us lies beyond the capabilities of modern scientific tools? Philosophy drew our attention to this problem long before modern astrophysicists appeared. Immanuel Kant pondered the limits of pure reason, while Friedrich Nietzsche described the universe as a chaotic and incomprehensible force that exists only if we name it to try to understand it. To this day, scientists face the same paradox. We call a coincidence that which we cannot yet express in equations. But is this a random stereotype of the objective properties of the universe? Or are these just labels we attach to our own ignorance? In any case, the consequences of this issue affect all of civilization. The impact of a powerful solar storm on our digital infrastructure could be catastrophic. The global network, entirely reliant on satellites and digital supply chains, will not withstand even a few days of mass power outages without serious consequences. The same applies to seismic shocks in densely populated but unprepared urban areas, or explosions of stars releasing radiation streams capable of overcoming the protection of our satellites. The 30-hour period forces us to ponder an uncomfortable question. Is our modern society based on an excessive, overconfident belief in the stability and predictability of the world around us? This excessive confidence is reflected in our daily lives. We have come to believe that the internet will always be available, that the night sky is just a beautiful backdrop for our daily lives, and that statistics reliably protect us from what we call the incredible. But in just 3 days, the universe clearly showed us that the sum of exceptions can create its own rules. We just haven't realized it yet. There is also a deep existential aspect present. Each of these events is natural and understandable on its own, but when they occur simultaneously and closely connected, they awaken in human imagination an ancient suspicion of a hidden, deeper order. Perhaps it is beyond our understanding, but it governs forces we have always considered independent. And this suspicion is not just superstition, it is a legitimate reflection based on what science itself indicates. Complex systems can generate synchronies that resemble purposeful actions. Some statistical models applied to this situation show that such convergence of events cannot be explained solely by random fluctuations. This does not imply any intervention or intention, but clearly suggests the existence of hidden variables. Perhaps it all relates to deeper and longer cycles of solar activity, or it could be due to distant gravitational interactions that we are currently unable to track. If this is ever confirmed, we will find that we are not just facing a random coincidence, but a subtle hint that the universe operates by laws we have yet to decipher. And now what? Although we tend to think that science possesses all truths, in reality, we remain only partial witnesses to the workings of invisible cosmic mechanisms. This is the true invitation that 32 hours offers us. This invitation is not to blind faith, but to critical reflection, to the development of thinking that rejects simple and convenient explanations. After all, every extreme coincidence can be either a coincidence or a true revelation. Only those who boldly and persistently explore will be able to discern this. The desire to find meaning in chaos and to see patterns in randomness has existed since humanity appeared. When science reaches the limits of its capabilities, people inevitably turn to other systems of understanding the world, primarily to religion and spirituality. 32 hours became the perfect foundation for such a search. For billions of believers around the world, a simple explanation based on statistical anomalies sounded not only unconvincing, but almost blasphemous. Within the Abrahamic religions, such as Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, such events would invariably be viewed through the lens of eschatology, the doctrine of the end times. Preachers and theologians would immediately point to the sacred texts that speak of signs in the heavens and on earth, heralding great changes or the Day of Judgment. Two new stars, unexpectedly appearing in the sky, could be interpreted as the return of the Bethlehem star or as a dire warning. The shaking of the earth in a distant land could be seen as the fulfillment of a prophecy that nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom, with famine, plague, and earthquakes in various places, while the fiery strike of the sun is like a battle of angelic forces in the higher realms. For many, this would not be a reason for scientific curiosity, but a call to repentance, to reconsider their lives against the backdrop of impending great events. Eastern spiritual traditions would offer a completely different, yet equally profound interpretation. In Buddhism and Hinduism, where time is cyclical and the universe undergoes vast cycles of creation and destruction, such events would fit into the concept of cosmic interconnectedness. The idea that an explosion of a star thousands of light years away can synchronize with the movement of tectonic plates on Earth and the activity of our sun perfectly fits the image of Indra's net, a metaphor describing a universe where every particle is connected to every other. In this world, there is no place for chance. Only karma exists, a global law of cause and effect. The events that unfolded over 72 hours could be seen not merely as a simple anomaly, but rather as a culmination of accumulated tensions in the structure of reality, a transition from one era to another. Followers of various esoteric and mystical teachings would not remain indifferent. Astrologers, in turn, would see in these phenomena confirmation of their theories about the influence of planetary and stellar configurations that have reached a new galactic level.